I just came back from a drive with this thing, and this thing damn near caused me to suicide myself. Welcome to the nightclub, guys. It's your host, the Night Wrencher. So I've been daily driving my truck pretty consistently now, and I've been hitting the freeway more and more often as I get more comfortable. And what ended up becoming of me last night was that I was no longer able to drive the truck at any kind of speed. It just felt very, very unstable, and it was just all over the road, and I had no idea what was going on. So I spent the entire day today hypothesizing and figuring out what was going on, and I finally get the chance to take it all apart, and hopefully I find out what's wrong with this stupid thing. So I think the cause of all of my wandering was actually this 8-degree spacer, but not the spacer itself. I think what was happening was after I installed this spacer to correct my pinion angle so I can hook up my front drive shaft, which I'm gonna have to disconnect right now when I jump over to the other side. So what's happening is that the caster angle on the front knuckle is actually pointed too far forward. So when something like that, when the angle is too far forward, what happens is that it causes erratic steering in the front end. Lifted vehicles are usually supposed to have anything from 4 to 7 degrees backwards. I don't know if that's positive or negative. I should have looked this up beforehand, but let's just, for the sake of argument, let's just say backwards. And I've actually gone with the shim that I installed in the front, 8 degrees pinion up, which caused my front end to also move forward. So the correct fix for this would probably have to be to take my extra axle. I would have to cut off the C's on this, and then set up the pinion angle on my pumpkin first, and then weld the C's to the degrees of caster that I want. And then I'm still gonna have to use the shims because that's cast into the Dana 44, but my caster angle will be corrected. So after that's all said and done, I'm gonna go ahead and button this back up, and then I'll see you when it's all over. I want to go ahead and elaborate that the shims that I end up using for the front are actually specifically designed for, more often than not, the rear differential. But because of the way that my drivetrain is set up, you know, I've got the LS, I've got the Toyota 5-speed, I've got passenger side drop 4x4, so nothing is really stock, and I need that extra bit of tilt in the differential. And because of the way the housing is cast and the way the leaf springs sit on the housing, it's just not possible to tilt the pinion angle far enough to the point where I can have a comfortable connection with the drive shaft. And ultimately I did have to install those shims. Now the proper correction for something like that would have to be, like I said, adjusting that caster angle backwards. So hopefully after this is all said and done, I'll be pretty much good to go without any more problems. Alright, I finally got both shims out. That was almost a disaster because I was just all over the place, but finally got this all back together. Double checked all the lug nuts, made sure everything was tight, make sure my brakes were okay. Checked the back too because I didn't mess with that yesterday. So I'm gonna have a test drive, and then I'll report back to you after I'm all done. Alright, so I actually just put 30 miles into it, and it actually performed really, really well. I was actually surprised. I found myself over correcting a ton of times, at least the first, I don't know, 15 minutes or so. I was just over correcting like crazy. What was happening was I took the same path that I took yesterday, just so I more or less figured out where my problem areas were. And when I was reaching those problem areas, my blood just went, you know, cold. I was like, okay, here we go. And I went through them, and I felt a little, off, but for the most part, it performed really well. And I'm actually surprised of how much of a change it did. So when I finally build the Dana 44 in the front, I'm gonna make sure that I add a little bit more extra, probably 3 more degrees of caster when I finally build it, and then set the pinion angle correctly this time. For now, I won't have the front drive shaft hooked up until I finish it, but yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. Two things that I did notice is one, that it is rubbing a little bit more now on the inside of wheels. That might just be an adjustment that I can make on the toe. And second, I noticed that I could actually turn my head and check if there were any other cars before I changed lanes, where before, if I just glanced over, the truck would just, like, you know, start hopping everywhere, and you know, it was just not good. So I'll leave you guys there. I'll see you guys all in the next one. Night Wrencher out.